All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the 5th Annual March Through the Steps. Really glad you're all here this morning, and thanks for coming and spending some time with us. We're looking forward to what is sometimes a long day, but to those of you who have spent the last couple years with us and have maybe stayed through the whole day, it is quite an experience. So if you can't, we're just glad you're here to spend some time with us, but if you can stay and be present for the whole day, that'd be really cool too. We will start serving lunch around 12:30-ish. There will be plenty of food, so we'd love to have y'all. It's kind of a familial thing, so if you just get to sit down and talk to some folks you came with, and maybe sit down and get to talk to some folks you don't know so well. But yeah, it's going to be a great day. We're looking forward to it, and we want to thank everybody that came out to speak to us today too. So before we get started, we're just going to take a moment to get quiet. To get silent and to get still. And to invite whatever you believe in and to be with us. And God, we ask that you may set aside everything we think we know about the 12 steps, about the big book, about the solution in the big book. About our old experiences with all of that, and about what a new experience with that should look like. And most importantly, about you, God. So that today we can have an open mind and a whole new experience with all of those things, especially with you, God. Please allow us to see the truth. Amen. All right, we're not going to waste time, so can I have a volunteer to come up and please read step 1?
It's early.
Sorry? You're good.
Choking on this donut.
Thanks for being here. Don't die up there.
I'm not, I hope. I got this water. All right. Whew. Good morning, everybody. My name is Darren. I'm an alcoholic.
Hey, Darren.
All right. Step 1, reading. We believe, and so suggested a few years ago, that the action of alcohol on these chronic alcoholics is a manifestation of an allergy. That the phenomenon of craving is limited to this class and never occurs in the average temperate drinker. These allergic types can never safely use alcohol in any form at all. And once having formed the habit and found they cannot break it, once having lost their self-confidence, their reliance upon things human, their problems pile up on them and become astonishingly difficult to solve. The fact is that most alcoholics, for reasons yet obscure, have lost the power of choice in the drink. Our so-called willpower becomes practically non-existent. We are unable at certain times to bring into our consciousness with sufficient force the memory of the suffering and humiliation of even a week or a month ago. We are without defense against the first drink. Thank you.
Thanks, Darren. Thank you. Love you. All right, and please help me welcome our first speaker, Sarah I. from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Sarah. I'm an alcoholic. Whew. First of all, I want to start off by thanking the group and everybody who put this event on. Thanks, Teddy. And I want to start off, too, by being really honest. I was really angry when I heard I had to speak on step 1. And I told Teddy this, and I get really resentful. And even though he told me a while back that the way they do this is they pick out of a hat, right? But this is not a step I truly enjoy speaking on. And the only reason is that I love talking about what the steps have done for my life and the hope and the joy of this experience. And part of me thinks that if I stand up here and I talk about the hopeless feature of this malady for an hour, I'm just going to leave you all depressed and sad, right? And I'm really good. I can do that. Like, I can really talk about how dark this thing can get. Like, I have no problem with that. But I really get excited to talk about how this power that I found through these 12 steps and through this work has completely transformed my life. I really love that. So, I also like to talk about how scared I get up every single time I get up here to do this. I was talking to my friends this morning and telling them I have that voice that wakes me up every morning if I'm not aware of it, that will tell me I don't belong here, that I don't have a place or a seat or a spot amongst you amazing, beautiful people. And this lineup today and yesterday, I mean, I get to speak with some of the people I love so dearly in this program who have shaped and formed my love of Alcoholics Anonymous and my experience through this, and people I have walked with on this journey for years. So it is such an absolute honor and a pleasure to get to do something like this. So I have to be real careful to make sure that voice doesn't take over, doesn't convince me of the lie that I am not good enough, the lie that I don't have anything to offer to you, the lie that I haven't connected with a power. Because, what I really want to do today is talk about, what God has done for my life, right? But how did I get there? Because I'm not interested in connecting with a power greater than myself. I'm not interested in even entertaining the thought of connecting with a power until I have exhausted every other option. Matt last night did this masterful job of breaking down the first step when he went through A Vision for You. So I kind of thought after he spoke, I really have no purpose here anyway. He realized, all right, everybody got it, right? I can just go home now. He did such a masterful job. But I will say that I had a different experience than Matt. Matt talked a lot about understanding and identifying what the problem was. The problem with an alcoholic like me is I can know what the problem is and I can still have the experience of powerlessness. Because I was introduced to this information when I came in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous over and over and over again. I had well-meaning and amazing and loving people presenting me with the information, telling me what it was that I suffered from, right? People who were armed with the facts about themselves. They explained to me what it meant to have this physical allergy. They explained to me that mental blank spot that I had, that peculiar mental twist that alcoholics like me have. They explained to me that sobriety was my true problem. And until I experienced that pain and that suffering, that beaten into a state of reasonableness, that crushed by a self-imposed crisis that I couldn't postpone or evade anymore, on the highway, wanting to turn around and go home, begging to a power I don't believe in and I don't think cares about me to fucking kill me or stop me because I want to stop and I can't. That's my experience, right? My experience is that I can want this and not be able to stop. I can know the information and not be able to stop. That's what happened with me, right? And long before any of that was even introduced to me, alcohol did something for me that nothing in my life had ever done before. Alcohol shifted my perception of reality in such a way that made all that discomfort and fear that I was born with. I don't know, maybe I wasn't born with that. I don't know if I believe that. I just don't remember a time without it, right? I believe probably I was born as every human spirit comes into this world pure and loved and connected to the universe. And what happened is the universe and the world came in and blocked me off from a power that was already within me, that fundamental idea of God that is deep down within all of us. The world happened. Things happened. My family happened. They weren't perfect. They loved me the best that they could, but things happened. Things happened to convince me that you didn't love me and that God didn't love me. And I felt separate, and that chasm and that separation between me and you and God got so big that it hurt all the time. That living hurt, that breathing hurt, that everything was uncomfortable. That's how I felt before I picked up a drink, that I was driven by 100 forms of fear and self-seeking and self-delusion, self-pity, long before alcohol came into the picture. And I did seek outside of myself to fix that for so many years. And I couldn't find it. I didn't know all that time that I was seeking God. I had no idea that's what I was looking for. God, love, power, creation, whatever it was. I don't care what you want to call it, but that's what my spirit was seeking. I was looking for that, and I couldn't find it in human power. And then I picked up a drink, and I experienced the effect produced by alcohol, and I found it. I found power. I found love. I found connection. I was okay. I could breathe. All of that discomfort and that pain of living went away. All that separation from me and you was gone. And I was okay, so why would I ever want to stop that? Why would I ever want to let go of that? Because this works for me. Now we're talking in the book, and we open up talking about this physical allergy, this manifestation of an allergy. Coming in, I don't know what that means. I think an allergy is I break out in hives, my throat closes, being like Darren standing up here like choking on something. Like that's, like now, that's what I think. Like that's what I think a physical allergy is. I don't know, it's just simply an abnormal reaction, right? That I don't react to alcohol the same way normal people do. I do know from the moment I started drinking, I've never had the desire for one of anything, right? I've never wanted one of anything. It's always 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like it has to go. I don't understand it. I talk about this a lot. My dad is this, he loves that really expensive, like 25-year-old scotch. I don't know if that's anyone's thing in here, but he is the Glenfiddich and he'll swirl it around in his glass. He one time held like this class for us as his daughters, trying to get us to appreciate the taste of scotch, and he's like, can you taste the oak? And I'm like, listen, I don't give a fuck what it tastes like. I don't care. I want the effect produced. I'll hold down, I'll put my nose and chug some Everclear. I just want the relief. I don't really care about all of this. So that's what I've always thought alcohol was about, and I didn't understand other people had a different experience with alcohol. It never occurred to me. Because my life experience is from this self-centered lens. I see everything from how I experience the world. Like, that's me, right? That's all of us. So I think everybody has this experience where they have one, and then they need 2, 3, 4, and they need to keep going. That's always been the way I've been. And, although I didn't become a daily drinker on day one, I know from that moment on when I found that relief, I always wanted it. I always wanted that relief. I know I was already experiencing an abnormal reaction that my friends didn't experience. I know I was the embarrassing friend that had to be dropped off on the doorstep of my parents' house with a lot of explanations. I would wake up not knowing what I did and not being able to remember things and experiencing that shame of waking up in the morning, that discomfort, and then wanting that relief from alcohol again and again and again. And no consequence, even early on, getting in trouble and all those little things that happen. I have no interest in stopping. I just want more. But the thing about this disease and this illness is that it's progressive and it's fatal, and I don't know that coming in. Like, I don't know that when I first start finding alcohol as a solution. I don't know that over any period of time I'm getting worse, not better. I have no idea that's happening to me. And, in the beginning, I'm able to stop or moderate, just like it talks about in the book. It says many of us are may start out as moderate to hard drinkers. I always say I don't think I was ever moderate, skipped right to the hard, but, I only say that because our book is clear in the definitions, and I'm going to paraphrase here, but it says a moderate drinker can stop it, if they need to with little trouble. And that's just not my story. The first time I ever needed to stop or moderate was when I got pregnant with my daughter at the age of 19. And what separates me from a normal drinker like my sister is that when she's pregnant, she's excited and picking out names and decorating nurseries. And when I'm pregnant with my daughter, it's different because I feel like I'm in a prison cell, like I'm counting the days until I can get this child out of me so I can again experience that sense of ease and comfort that comes with that first drink, that relief, that shift in perception, that sense of okayness, that God, that power, right? I don't know that. And as time passes, I'm getting worse, not better. And I don't know. I don't know. I'm crossing over these lines that I can't see where it goes from being this, party. Because in the beginning, it really is fun. And I'd be lying to you if I said differently. I had a good time in the beginning until I didn't. Until one day I wake up and it's a necessity. Like Bill talks about, like the bathtub gym kind of scenario where I don't care what I'm putting in my body as long as I'm getting some relief. And then I move over this other line where it gets really, really dark. Where it goes from being a job to a nightmare that I cannot come out from. Like, I can't wake up from it. And this starts to happen. If you fast forward from the time I'm pregnant with my daughter to 7 years later to my second marriage, that second pregnancy, I cannot stop. And if I'm being honest, I don't want to. I don't want to. I can't love the child I'm carrying the way I feel I'm supposed to. I can't connect to this baby because I want relief from alcohol, and this baby's in the way. I'm resentful, I'm afraid, I'm angry, I have no power, I continue to drink. I drink the entire pregnancy, and as a direct result, I give birth to a baby who's 3 months premature, and he's 2 pounds, right? This baby I couldn't love when I was carrying him, I see in the NICU. And in that moment, I see him on that life support. I love him as much as I'm capable of loving any human being on this earth, At that moment, I love him. But what comes with that love is that shame. And if you're here, I think you know what I'm talking about. That shame I drag in here at Alcoholics Anonymous, that shame that makes me believe that I'm not entitled to this gift that you've experienced here, that will block me from the promises and block me from the connection and block me from the power. That shame that I did this to him. This is my fault. He can't breathe because of me. He can't be held because of me. This is my fault. I know that I've done this to him. But the problem is, I still can't stop doing the things I'm doing, and I still don't want to. I still want relief from that shame. I still want to stop the pain and the suffering of me, not him. I'm not thinking about him. I'm thinking about how I can get relief from the shame and guilt I feel for the things that I've done. The problem is alcohol's not producing that same effect anymore. I'm not getting that relief. Now, I know people, I've heard people talk about how alcohol always worked for them. That's not my story. Because I remember there was a time, and I don't know when it happened, where it didn't matter how much I put in my body, that shame wouldn't disappear. Where I'd get those brief moments of relief, but the shame and the pain and the suffering and that all the stuff that I've caused, it was still there. Maybe it was quieter. Maybe the voice in my head that told me every day you should just fucking kill yourself would get a little quieter, but it was there. It was like an undercurrent in everything I did. And that's suffering. That's pain. And I come in here for years, in and out of these rooms, using this as a dating service, anything other than seeking a solution. By the way, that's a terrible idea. I can attest to that. 10 out of 10, do not recommend. No offense, but that's just my experience. Especially if I'm deeply unwell, which, yeah. But I come in here and I seek everything outside of me. See, this great delusion that I do have, and it talks so eloquently about this in our third step. I'm gonna really try not to step all over everybody's toes here, but that idea that the delusion that I can wrest satisfaction and happiness out of this world if I manage it well. What creates the life on manageability is that problem right there. That's it, right? I think that I will be okay if I have the things, if I have the marriage, if I have the 2.5 children, if I, all this outside stuff. Here's the thing, I can get those things, I can't keep those things. I can't hold on to them, and they don't fix what's wrong inside of me. They don't do anything to fix what's broken and wrong inside of me, what separates me from you. And I come in and out of these rooms for so many years, and I see happy, joyous, and free people, and I fucking hate you. I hate you. I separate myself from you. You all have this gift that I'm never going to have. I hear you read those promises. You're going to know new freedom and a new happiness. Not me. Not me. Have you seen what I've done? What I've done to my parents? I remember my mom dragging me to the hospital and being told, your daughter's going to die. I wake up and they're like, you have to say goodbye to her, and I'm cursing her out. I'm cursing her out because she woke me up and got me help. That's me. This is how I make people suffer, right? I have this experience when, I know people talk a lot about it. It says we are powerless over alcohol and our lives have become unmanageable, but there's a lot of language in our book that goes a little deeper than that. I could just stand here and say I'm just powerless over alcohol, but there's a lot of language that says hey, listen, a mere code of morals and a better philosophy of life is not gonna, I've had that. I was brought up with a solid code of morals, amazing parents who loved me, right, who taught me right from wrong. Why do you think I experienced all that shame? I'm not a sociopath, although it may have appeared that way to so many others. But I'm not a sociopath. A sociopath wouldn't experience the shame and guilt and remorse that I felt for the things that I've done, right? I want to be good, and I can't. I want to be different, and I can't. I don't have that power. I want to be a good sister. I want to be a good daughter. I want to be a good friend. I want to be a good wife. I can't do it because I'm so desperately seeking relief that I'll run over everything. The kind of person I become, I can't be faithful in a relationship because I need you to fix me. I need all this outside stuff. I want to be a good mother, but I can't because I'm so busy seeking relief that I'm nodding out and I'm dropping my kid on the floor, or I'm leaving him in the car in the worst neighborhoods of Philadelphia, putting him in danger, driving around with my kids in the car intoxicated. That's how I show up. I remember getting locked up, and I talk about this all the time because it was such a, such a horrific experience that I had, and where things really started to get dark for me. But I remember getting locked up with my 8-month-old baby in the car. And I remember my husband at the time had to pick him up at the police station, and I got bailed out, and I came home the next day. And I remember walking in that door and seeing him, my husband, sitting in the living room with our baby, with everything packed up, and he's going to leave and he's going to take our child. Now, at this point, I've already lost custody of my daughter. And I look at the situation that I'm facing, and I'm going to lose the only family that I have, the only security that I believe I have, and I'm terrified. And I start begging and I start pleading in that moment. I'm so desperate that I'll do anything. And I mean that. Like, if you had hooked me up to a lie detector in that moment, I would have passed when I made all those promises and begged and plead. Please do not leave me. Please do not take my baby from me. Don't do this. Please. I mean it all the way up into the point where he says to me, I'll stay on one condition. You go to treatment today and you get sober today. And I looked at that man and I look at my boy who I love, and I know, like, that's the thing. Tina talked about this last night. I know this horrible thing is going to happen. I know they're going to walk out that door, and I still say no. I still say no. In that moment, I need alcohol more than I need that roof over my head, more than I need my marriage, more than I need my child. I need that relief. And I have a brain and a disease, this mind that will tell me, you know what, you'll fix this, you'll get them back tomorrow, you'll do something about this tomorrow. But I need that relief now. I need it now. And what happens is they leave and they don't come back. They never come back. And that shame just piles on. The pain piles on, and I get more and more separated from you, and more separated from God. And every single time I come in here and you tell me about this freedom that you've experienced, I hate you more. I separate me more because I can't get out from underneath the shame. Because you know why? I believe it. One lie, that I chose this. See, this idea that alcoholism is this moral failing, right? It didn't satisfy us to know that, to think we were just outright mental defectives and on full flight from reality. Listen, I got that part. I'm really good. I'll sit and swim in that. I know I'm an outright mental defective. I get it, right? I believe that this is me. Like, I'm just a horrible human being, and that's why I carry all this shame with me. I chose to be like this. I chose alcohol over my family, over my loved ones, relationships, jobs, my babies. Thought I had that power. And then, years later, someone in these rooms opens up that book and read just what Darren read in the beginning of this meeting. For reasons yet obscure, most alcoholics have lost the power of choice when it comes to a drink. Let me tell you what starts to happen to me when I'm in that place of brokenness, right? And when I see that in black and white, I see it laid out in front of me, and I start to compare it with my experience, and I'm like, holy shit, like, wait a second. Maybe I'm not garbage. Maybe I'm not this scumbag that I believe myself to be. Maybe that's not it. Maybe I just don't have the power to choose my babies. So maybe I can get set free just a little bit. Maybe, just maybe, I'm beyond human aid and I need a power bigger than alcohol. It opens that door. See, there is hope in the hopelessness of that first step. Because when I'm completely broken, I get cracked open and God can enter in that space that had been so blocked off and hardened. I get cracked open to this idea that maybe, just maybe, this God could enter in my life the way God has entered into yours. The problem is, I don't get there right away. I have to experience more of this first step, right? Because those outside consequences just aren't going to cut it for me. It'd be really cool to stand here today and tell you that losing custody of my kids was enough to bring me into AA. It was not. 11 felonies is not enough to bring me here. It just isn't. I'll just keep racking up more. It really doesn't matter. Like, losing every job, every home, every relationship, everything outside of me that ever mattered, losing all of that stuff was not enough to get me desperate enough to get in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous and pick up the spiritual kit of tools that you had been so lovingly laying at my feet for years. It just wasn't. And if you haven't experienced any of that, If you're sitting in here and you still have the house and the 2-car garage and the marriage, like, that doesn't matter. None of that stuff makes me an alcoholic. Literally, the only reason I share about that stuff is to illustrate just how powerful alcohol can become, right? That no human power, there is no threat, there is no consequence great enough to separate me from this. You know, if you tell me you're going to lock me up, I'm like, all right, well, catch me when you can. I had warrants out on me for years. I'd get locked up doing, like, random stuff. Like, one time I called the police on, like, an event happening down my block. I was trying to be a good citizen, and I got locked up. How dare they? How dare they? But anyway, like, that's kind of how I lived for the long time. You know, catch me if you can. Or if you tell me, you know, you're going to take my kids from me, I'm like, well, you know what? I'll be gut level honest. I don't want that responsibility, right? Like, I really don't. I could sit here and say, I have this memory of when I lost custody of my daughter and my dear, like, I remember going to court and being absolutely devastated and insane, and I'm like trying to run my husband down in the parking lot of the courthouse. Like, that actually happened. Someone had to call the police. And I went to my brother's house afterwards. My brother and my beautiful brother, and I went there, and I remember like just doing this huge pity party and sobbing and be like, I cannot believe he took primary physical custody. I can't believe I lost custody. And deep down feeling relief. I could never have said that out loud back then. I don't even know if I knew how relieved I was that I didn't have to wake up every morning with her, right? So if you tell me you're going to take my kids from me, that's the truth, right? Someone else can be responsible. I get to be the fun parent, pop in and out when I feel like it, how I feel like it. And if you tell me I'm going to die, I'm like, well, hurry it up. That's not a threat. That's a promise. You know, I'm that alcoholic who wants to die, but I'm too much of a coward to kill myself, so maybe something else can get it done, right? So all that stuff, that's not enough to bring me here. That's not enough to get me here. And I remember that last run, right? I remember it because the outside in that last run just wasn't that bad. I've had way worse runs than that. Like, you know, when my back is up against the wall where I've lost everything, where I don't even have a backpack full of clothes, like I have nothing. But this one was different. I had stuff. I had the car, which is weird, right? I had money. I think it was a relationship, whatever. The guy I picked up in the recovery house I moved in with, like, I had that going for me. But, you know, the outside just wasn't that bad, but the inside was like hell. It was torture. Like, I'm experiencing something within me I had never experienced before. And like Tina talked about this last night too, that coming into the rooms of AA for years, right? I don't have a desire to stop drinking. If you're here today and you don't have a desire to stop drinking, welcome. I get it. I came here with that attitude and that experience, and you loved me no matter what. You kept telling me to come back. You never judged whether I had an honest desire to stop drinking. Why would I have an honest desire to stop the only thing that has ever given me relief? Why? I have this honest desire for consequences to stop happening. That's what I've got. I want to stop going to jail. I don't want the custody of my kids back. I got to be honest. That felt too much for me at that point. But I wanted to see them. I wanted them to love me. I wanted my parents to stop looking at me the way they did. I wanted to stop looking at myself the way I did. And that night, May 2nd of 2012, I have this experience being on that highway and having that overwhelming and overpowering desire to stop that it talks about in her book. Even the most powerful desire to stop is sometimes to no avail. I experienced this driving when all I want to do is turn that wheel around. I just want to go home. I want to stop lying to everybody. I want to stop hurting everybody I love. And no matter how much, how badly I want to turn that wheel around, I can't do it. I don't have the power. That, for me, was my true first step experience. Right there in that moment. All the reading, all the going through the book and understanding, I get it, self-knowledge, I can know all of that. But until I have that experience, until I'm sitting there behind that wheel and with that desperate desire to turn it and it won't turn, I really didn't know. And that's when I knew. And in that moment, the prayer is simply, dear God, fucking kill me or stop me, begging, screaming, that jumping off point, I'd rather be dead than do this anymore. A power intervenes. Law enforcement is not the power I was seeking, but it's effective. It's so effective. You know, and here's the thing, I don't necessarily believe in some like deity, and that's not really my conception today, that there's some like big deity like Sky Daddy like moving pieces around, but I'm sorry, like that's just not how I see things, but I do know what it says in our book, that God does not make too hard of terms for those who seek him. And in that moment, I sought, with that desperation of a dying person, I sought a power that I didn't think loved me and I didn't think cared about me. I sought that power, and those doors opened up and those pathways opened up to provide me with the help that I could not find otherwise. And the help didn't look the way I wanted it to. And even standing here and that, talking about that gift of desperation, I can't even tell you that, oh, all of a sudden I experienced this psychic change and I got better. Woo! Absolutely not. And 48 hours later, I experienced the remarkable recuperative power of the alcoholic ego. If you haven't read anything on Tebow, go read that, because our problem is so much bigger than just alcohol, y'all. But I don't know that at the time. Like, I know that all of a sudden I'm like, oh crap, this isn't the deal I kind of wanted, God. Like, I wanted a detox bed with some narcotics, and you gave me a holding cell. But it just, this power, like, I all I know is this, is I like absolutely needed to be separated, completely separated. And for 18 months, I have this empirical evidence while I'm incarcerated that the problem begins, the unmanageability, the real problem comes when you remove alcohol from me. I didn't know that. No, I'm taught this and I learned this in hindsight. I don't experience that when I'm in jail calling mommy and daddy on the phone account they pay for and bossing them around and trying to manage and control everybody else, right? That's not when I experience it. I experience it when I get out and I'm desperate and I'm broken, sober. And I think Tina talked about this last night, this idea, like, if this is like, it's sober, I don't want any part of this. If this is what it feels like, you can keep this shit. This is horrible. This is painful. This separation between me, you, and God hurts so bad. I hadn't had a drink in 18 months. And I want to die. I want to die, right? And then I walk into the room, back into the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, broken and humbled and out of ideas. And you lay the same spiritual kit of tools at my feet that you've been laying there like over and over and over again. And the only thing that changed this time is I actually picked it up. Not because I was super sold on this idea of God, nope. Because I was so broken, there was nothing else left. We talk about how hopelessness becomes hope, that's it. When I'm that broken and there's nothing else left, then God can come in. Then the solution can come in. Then the willingness comes. And I have this incredible experience that, I wish I could talk about today, but I'll leave that to the other speakers who will probably do a much more eloquent job than I will. But, I have this experience where I'm like cracked wide open and like, I don't even know that it's happening to me. I know that as I do this work, I experience the power. I don't have to seek the power. I experience God doing for me what I had never been able to do for myself. One day at a time, I'm not only staying sober, my reactions to life are changing. I'm starting to experience the promises that you had been telling me about, the ones that I thought that I could never experience, right? And I'm living out in this world. And I want to talk about the unmanageability part, because it says we were powerless over alcohol, we admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. And see, this is where I got things confused. See, when I was newly sober, it may have looked like my life was unmanageable because I was on state parole. I had no car, I had no money, I was working at a cleaning company, just cleaning out trash, and internally, I was at peace. I was at absolute peace. And as I move through life and I have these experiences and I experience the pain and the tragedy of living life on life's terms, right? Experiencing the death of my sister and God guiding me through that experience, I have the absolute knowledge and understanding and knowing that there is a power working in my life, that God exists, and I have tapped into that power. See, that's what we came here to do. I think I come into the rooms of AA to get sober. No, sobriety becomes this byproduct when I connect with the power. It says that it says the real purpose, our purpose is to connect us with the power that will solve our problem for me. Here's the thing. at a few years sober, I forget that I'm not that power anymore, right? I start doing this thing called two-stepping, and I come to AA, I admit I'm powerless. Well, admit I'm powerless over alcohol. That's it, that one thing I'm powerless over. My life becomes insanely unmanageable, and then I come to AA to life coach, sponsor you. And that's what happens. And that chasm between me, you, and God forms again, and it gets deeper, and it gets deeper, and I feel that separation again, and I'm suffering sober, and I don't know what is wrong with me again. And I swear to God, I will never stand here and, say I'm grateful for March of 2020 because so many people suffered so horrifically. But I will tell you that when the pandemic hit and all the human powers that I had again made my highest power were ripped away from me, and I'm left with me, just alone in my home without all this stuff to cling to anymore, I'm back in that place of brokenness all over again. Suffering sober, curled up in the fetal position, again crying out to a power I know exists this time. I need help. I need help. And I had to go back to the beginning and have this experience. And I remember, calling this woman in AA and picking up the phone and asking her to help me. And she takes me right back to the beginning at 8 years sober, like a brand newcomer. And she asked me this question. She's like, do you believe you're powerless over alcohol? And I said, absolutely. And she said, do you believe you're powerless over anything else? And if I was being honest in that moment, I said, no. I genuinely believed I could control these outside circumstances. I genuinely believed I had some power, and I had sunk back into that delusion that I could wrest satisfaction and happiness out of this world if I only manage it well. I was clinging to all these outside things, and relying on them as the ultimate power again, and I was suffering as a result. That's the insanity about this, is I can immediately start believing I'm God again. And, and I think I'm doing the deal. I'm coming to the rooms of AA and I'm raising my hand and I'm have this book memorized and I can sound really good. But inside my spirit is suffering and I'm absolutely delusional again. And I think I can be okay. I think I heard Chad speak a couple years ago, we spoke at this conference, and he said something, people talk about that first step, the only step that we have to practice perfectly every day is step one. And he posed a question when he was sharing, if I'm really practicing step one perfectly, wouldn't I be doing the entire body of work between 1 and 12, vigorously, all the time? If I really conceded to my innermost self that I wasn't the power, wouldn't I be continuing to do this work? See, that's the thing. I had lost sight of the fact that I didn't have that power because I wasn't doing any of the other work to connect with the true power. I had come to believe that I was the power yet again. So I have this experience that I go through this work and I get cracked wide open again and I connect with this power again. See, what the 12 steps are doing is they're removing all that stuff, that separation between you and me and God, that stuff that's in the way, that stuff that is blocking me from the fundamental idea of God that is deep down within all of us, right? And when I'm able to do that, I can start to react to life in a sane way. And, I really would love to tell you that that's how I show up, but I want to talk today about what it looks like today in my life with this first step experience. Because if I'm talking about current powerlessness and I'm talking about current unmanageability, this is what it can look like. I talk today when I got up here about a head that wakes me up every single morning. Right? The head that woke me up this morning that says, I don't belong here, and everybody's going to do so much better job speaking, and you're going to sound stupid, and nobody wants to hear what you have to say, all of that stuff, right? That's the head that I could listen to on any given day. Our book talks about it as the God of reason. And if I start paying attention and worshiping this God of reason, my life becomes extremely unmanageable, and the outside can look amazing. See, that's what I always got messed up about unmanageability. I thought it had to do with the outside circumstances. I've had experiences where where my outsides looked amazing. Best job I've ever had, paying on my mortgage, everything's going great on the outside. But the inside's a mess, right? Driven by 100 forms of fear, self-delusion, self-seeking, self-pity, waking up on that default mode. Because I have this mind and that ego that is constantly trying to seek a way to make me okay. That is my true problem. We're talking about a disease that centers in our mind rather than our body. See, once I've mastered the idea that I can't put alcohol in my body, right? I haven't had a drink in over 12 years, right? So if I haven't had a drink in over 12 years and the allergy is my only problem, what the hell am I even doing anymore? I don't need you guys. I don't need AA anymore. What is my problem now? My problem is the mind, the ego, the God of reason, the thing that is always like, hey, I need this thing to be okay, or I need to avoid this thing to be okay. And that's what it's doing all day long. And I hear like well-meaning stuff in AA and like your mind is trying to kill you. No, it's not. No, it's not. My mind, my ego is formed to protect me. Protect me and make me feel safe. The problem is it's not God and it can't do that. I've given it so much power. I've given it the power that it can, to do something it is incapable of doing. The only power that can make me at peace and give me that sense of peace and love and okayness from within is God. Creation, the universe. I don't care what you want to call it. But my mind is offering me all kinds of solutions that are never going to make me okay. And this is what's creating my current unmanageability. If I only have the bag, if I only have the job, oh my God, if I only have the relationship. I can't even begin to tell you how going down that rabbit hole brought me to a level of powerlessness and unmanageability that had nothing to do with alcohol. Nothing to do with alcohol. I spent 6 years of my sobriety in and out of a relationship thinking, if only I can make this work, if only I can make this person okay, I will be okay. I just need to have this thing. I have this idea, this picture in my mind of what my sober life is supposed to look like. That's what I've got. I need to make it happen. I need to make it happen. And I'm so incredibly powerless, and I don't know it. And if I were to go back to the book, which I did, by the way, I ended up in Al-Anon, which highly recommend. But I went through the book, and if I plugged that relationship anywhere where it said drink, it's the same thing. Right? The exact same thing, right? How many different times did I go back into that relationship thinking, well, it'll be different this time, and here's how, right? I swear, this is what I was doing. And I'll do that with anything. I'll do it with a job. I'll do it with a relationship, any level of insane behavior. Even the way I parent my daughter, I was talking to Teddy about this last night, and my daughter is going through a breakup right now, and she's heartbroken, and I'm uncomfortable with that. I love my daughter, desperately love my daughter, and in my head I'm like, oh my God, can you just find a new boyfriend so I don't have to feel this discomfort of you being in pain anymore? That's what's going on inside my head. Talk about unmanageability. This doesn't even have anything to do with me. I want to be present and I just want to love my daughter in that moment, but my head is telling me this is how it's supposed to look for me to be okay. This is powerlessness to me, right? And I was a year ago, somebody brought this up to me last night where I got to this point where I had done enough work seeking this power and unraveling it through the rest of the steps, right? Because once I've made that concession in that first step, I got to keep going. If I sit there in that hopeless state, I'm going to die. And it's going to be alcohol that kills me or a bullet in my brain one way or another because I can't suffer like that very long. I'm not built for it. I'm not built for it. So I've got to keep moving. And as I go through the rest of this work and I plug in whatever it is, powerless over food, powerless over sugar, we were talking about that, anything I can get to seek that relief. As I go through the rest of this work, I have to come to that place of surrender all over again. And I'm going to argue this is I don't know that I consciously make the decision to surrender with anything. I didn't make that conscious decision to surrender with alcohol. I got fucking surrendered. I did. The pain of the situation surrendered me to a point where I reached that gift of desperation. And the same thing happened with the relationship. The same thing happened at that that 8-year mark when I'm sitting in that place in the middle of COVID and I'm suffering sober. I didn't make that decision consciously, like to humble myself and go, oh, please take me through the steps again. And like, I didn't want to do that. 8 years sober, who the hell wants to admit they don't know what the hell they're doing? I didn't want to do any of that, but the pain surrendered me. That disconnect between me and God surrendered me. So I have that experience and I start, peeling away all these layers and getting back to the true source, the true power. And then I somehow find the power to let go, to surrender, to give up, to stop trying to fight, to make it look the way I need it to look, to be okay. See, that's the thing today. That's the surrender now. Giving up the idea of my life needing to look a certain way for me to be okay. Hey, listen, maybe I'll never have the relationship and that's okay. Maybe I will die alone and my cats will eat my rotting corpse. That's okay. No, my best friend just wandered in here. Like, I'll be fine. Like, I have amazing people in my life. That's truly the gift I have. I am surrounded by love. My delusion will block me from the truth of that. That's the reality of this. But, and like the life is, the idea that this is supposed to look this way can also separate me further from God. Because if I put the idea of like what life is supposed to look like, then when things happen that I don't want to happen, I blame God. Like, listen, here's the truth. You know what I wanted? I wanted my sister to get better from her anorexia. That's what I wanted. I didn't want her to die. I didn't want to have to watch my mom suffer like that bent over in her casket. I didn't want that. I wanted my brother sitting here in this room today. He's opening the book with Devin. That's what I wanted. Right? But when I let go of that picture, because I didn't get what I wanted, I lost my brother, I lost my sister, I had to walk through those horrible, painful, but somehow beautiful moments. When I let go of what that picture is supposed to look like and I surrender that, I can experience this life, this gift, this life beyond my wildest dreams without trying to put parameters on what that looks like, what that even means. Because what are we seeking here? We're seeking a relationship with a power that can solve our problem for us. Lack of power, that's my dilemma. It doesn't even say alcohol's the problem. Alcohol stops being a problem when I put it down. It does. If I haven't had a drink for over 12 years, how can alcohol still be my problem? Listen, if I stay away from this work and disconnect from God and you, yep, it's a problem again, because at some point that mind will creep in there and tell me, all right, I need that relief. And I might even know, like Tina said last night, I might even know this is going to end badly. And I might do it anyway if that pain and that disconnect gets to be too great. I might do it. So it's never not, going to be that problem, but it's not a problem. It's not today's problem. Today's problem is this. I need out here to look okay to be okay in here. That's the unmanageability. Waking up, trying to manage and control from the moment my eyes open. So what do I have to do? What do I do? What do we do? We have a design for living that is laid out beautifully in these 12 steps. We have a design for living through these 12 steps that removes all the garbage that separates me from you and the garbage that separates me from God. And then sobriety becomes the byproduct of that. And I'm not just talking about physical sobriety, I'm talking about emotional sobriety. Can I be okay when life isn't perfect? Can I be okay with the fact that my son still won't speak to me 18 years later? Can I be okay with that? That he won't forgive me, that he wants nothing to do with me? Can I be okay, that the things in my life are not the way that I would want them? Can I be okay no matter what? And if I'm doing this work, if I'm being honest, if I'm seeking God, if I'm seeking a relationship with you, and if I'm seeking to make sure the wreckage of my past and present is being cleaned up, then the answer is yes. The answer is yes. The truth is this, is that, what it says in our big book that we can be well regardless of anyone, right? Provided we trust God and clean house. And what does that mean to be well, right? Again, I think I'm coming in here just to get sober, just to stop drinking. If that was the only reason I came in here, I would have sold myself short. The book really isn't even talking about getting us sober. It's talking about what happens once we do this work, where I don't feel the need to pick up a drink to fix what's wrong with me anymore. See, here's the thing I didn't know before, that the 12 steps produce the same effect as alcohol. In fact, it's even better because I'm here and present to experience it. All of that shame and that guilt of the past gets healed and removed from me. And I can look you in the eye and I can experience these relationships. And I can show up and be present in moments that in the past I would have run from. That I can experience true love. And I'm not talking about like that romantic, idealized love. I'm talking about the love of sitting with another woman and looking her in the eye and her sharing her heart with me. Seeing her brokenness and being able to approach that and connect with her on a level that I had never been able to connect with another human being. Being able to share all the pain of my past, all the shame of my past, instead of carrying the guilt of it, being able to present it to her as a way out. The gift that I have for you is that I also abandoned my children, that I also drank during my pregnancy, that I wanted so badly to be the mother that I wasn't capable of being. The gift I have for you is I experienced all of that, and now I live this amazing, beautiful, imperfect life. Where I don't think about picking up a drink, where I'm not always hurting people, that I'm not suffering anymore, suffering over the idea of what my life is supposed to look like. That one day at a time for the rest of my life that I can be okay. If I continue to pick up this work, continue to seek a relationship with you and a relationship with God. Anyway, that's all I have. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, we'll see you back at 10:15.